The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Okay, first and foremost, I'd like to give infinite honors and prayers to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rekahakwadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and salutation to the icons that's pushing the truth and sincerity. Lord willing, this video be edifying first and foremost to the whole elect and to those that cleave to the body. And to them, we'll get into the lesson as you can read. It says 60% of U.S. companies brace for layoffs as the economy suddenly shifts. All right, so due to the tariffs, which I'll say this with the tariffs, China has blossomed. I believe they gross 1.4 trillion since the tariffs with America, man. You know, so while other companies, other nations are thriving, all right, Americans is feeling the heat. They feeling the blow, okay, because America has always been a export company, all right, exporting corporation, all right, meaning they get things imported into them. All right. Or they get things imported or shipped out from other countries. All right. Which, the companies trade and they're merchants and everything of that nature. But America always been buyers. All right. They've never been sellers like, China and, different other places. Okay. But the point is, and the reason why I said that, because this isn't this is a corporation. So let's read. And that economy shift is due to biblical prophecy first and foremost. All right. It's been shown on the forefront, in which, the things was gonna surely come to pass, man. The merchant city, all right, the Lord is staining it, the pride thereof, okay? Who traffickers was the honorable of the earth. Now what you see is that because of the revenue, all right, the stock market crashing, crashing from the fish gates. Now you see that, there's no more money circulating in America. So these jobs, if no one is buying product from these jobs, then it's just sitting in warehouses, man. Prices are at an all-time high. So that means the workers can't get paid because no product is moving out. So it's like a revolving door. When you go to a job, all right, you push out the product for the company. And if the company can't sell it to anybody, there's no consumer, all right, then there's no way to pay the employees, man. Right? And America is based on consumerism. Okay? Now let's read this article, and Lord willing, to be edifying. It's from a day ago, all right? It's business, the daily overview. It says corporate America is heading into 2026 with a chill in the air. 6 in 10 employers now say they expect to cut staffs as the economy shifts from a hiring boom to a period of caution, restructuring, and automation. And I'll say this, all right, Amazon, has been a major player in layoffs, all right, due to the fact of, automated services now, due to robots and, electronical, data, like a data building design, and where with these companies are borrowing from Tesla and these other companies designed to basically put workers out of the way, all right, so they can save on labor costs. Okay, you got robots, moving pallets. Okay, and then you have automated trucks, 18 wheelers. So what it's doing is cutting down human labor. All right. And now hiring is at a freeze. All right. And like when Trump came in office, I believe a lot of the federal workers, he gave them the ultimatum on basically either taking a severance package, or completely just, that was under the Doge, all right, the Department of, the Department of Efficiency. They was making I guess making waves. And then you had Elon Musk at the head of it, right? He basically was sharing the White House with Trump, all right, and he was making the economy more efficient, all right, due to job cuts and money, things of labor costs and materials and supplies, all right. He was there to basically put in order, some of the money, the economist's money, all right, that they've been giving out. But it says, let me get back into it. It says, the headline number is stark, but the story behind it is complicated, blending genuine economic uncertainty with a strategic reset and how companies use people and technology, right? And under that fourth industrial revolution where they're merging man with machine, all right, and they didn't leveled up from that, all right, because these companies now, because we're in a technocracy age, okay, most things are done through the teching, all right, most things are done through the teching. You see the rule of machines, so to say, right? Robots, different machinery that they're using to where they don't need the human labor anymore, right? And it's plain to see, right? And that means what? Less pay. They don't have to pay people as much anymore. It'd be some wild ads on these things, man. It said, instead of classic recession, executives are preparing for something stranger. Yeah, and we're in a recession, right? We're in a soft stage because they still have a couple jobs. People still can get up to go to their 9 to 5s. That don't mean that the windows are not darkened. All right, you see, there are secret layoffs in every job. Even at my job, I saw a drop off in the delivery of chemicals over the past year. During our busy season for this past year, this is the first year we wasn't busy. It was like the normal amount of the year, and when it's hot, chemicals are used at a higher rate than what it is when it's cold. So during when it's hot, the times of when it's hot, we're usually in a busy season. But it was like it until we was in the cold season where chemicals don't evaporate as faster. All right, but it's like it was the cold season year round, or the slow season, should I say, year round. Even when it was hot, man. So this gonna affect a lot of people, man. It says steady output with fewer workers. See, that mix is already visible in the data and in high profile job cuts, and is reshaping how I think about job security, career planning, and what growth really means in the United States. And that's why they come out with the whole psyop, the psychological operation of MAGA, making America great again. All right, and then you get these leftists and these city officials and senates and different people to come out and say that, all right, they're opening hundreds of thousands of jobs here and there, but companies are closing. So even if they open the positions, companies are stepping out. They are selling their stock in the companies in which that they had. All right, they're selling it off to these tech billionaires who's replacing the manual working with robotic working, man. Manual human labor with robotic laboring, man. All right. So your job security is done here. All right. The windows is growing dim here. Things are being dimmed. You see? It says the survey behind a 60% layoff warning. The figure that 6 in 10 employees are bracing for layoffs is not a guess. It comes from a structured survey of corporate leaders about their 2026 plans. Now, why this the year that America is celebrating their 250-year anniversary? All right, you're having to counter this. You're having a layoff of 6 to 10 employees bracing for layoffs. Now, as it's supposed to be, the economy's supposed to be getting gradually better. All right, you have the The sorcery and the MAGA, making America great again, keeping the people under the illusion that things are getting better. All right. When the economists are suffering, the managers and the keepers of the house is trembling, man. They're taking their money out of the stocks, all right, and it's not providing or producing job opportunities. Okay. It says that research found that companies are planning layoffs due to economic uncertainty, with executives explicitly linking their downsizing expectations to worries about growth, inflation, and policy. And we in a soft stage of hyperinflation, man. Prices are high as ever. Taxes are even higher, all right, than they ever been. So we at an all-time low concerning growth, man. We're declining, but they're giving you bread and circles on we're doing the economy is doing so much better. All right. It says growth, inflammation, and policy. It says the same work reported that hiring has also slowed, with a total of 9% of firms already pulling back, which helps explain why the labor market can feel weaker even before the bulk of job cuts arrive. You see? And these people have gotten all they could get out of you people, all right, labor wise, man. Now it's time to lock the people up and kill them off, man. All right, they don't need you no more for their companies. And these tech giants are buying out these smaller companies, all right, that everything can directly go through them, all right, to where they control the job market completely, man. Okay, and when they do get these jobs, you'll need a certain mark or identification to actually be able to work at these jobs, man. Which is we know what that's leading to. That's leading to the MOT to the B. All right. It's just these companies are breaking down America. All right, so they can have control of America and really control of the people, man. Okay, let's get this real quick. This Isaiah 19 and 15. I'll start at 14. Yahweh had mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. It says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. So the Lord cutting the work out of this place. And if you can't work, you can't get paid. When you can't get paid, you can't pay your bills. You can't feed your loved ones. So it's a domino effect. All right. The Lord, woe to them that have went down to Egypt for help. You know. Isaiah 30 and 2. It says, start at 1. Woe to the rebellious children, say Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that covering with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. That walk to go down into Egypt, which is bondage, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. See? A lot of people is trusting in money. All right. They have watched after a nation that couldn't save them. A lot of people have put their trust and their hopes and dreams and desires into these jobs, and now they're saying they 401k and their dreams, basically fade away before their eyes, man. Because people trust in work. All right. They trust in work, jobs, the things that they can build their lives around, their children's lives, but they didn't consider, all right, the day where there wouldn't be any work here, man. All right, it's gonna be the survival of the fittest. You see? Let's read a little more of this. A separate data point reinforces how widespread this mindset has become. Another analysis found that 6 in 10 companies plan to lay off employees in 2026 amid economic uncertainties, and that half of the companies have cut back on hiring, with 41% reducing open roles or slowing replacement of departures. By the time leaders are both planning layoffs and freezing recruitment, They are not just trimming fat, they are repositioning their organizations for a leaner future, and workers are right to read that a structural shift rather than a passing scare. From layoffs, from mass layoffs to a jobless expansion. The survey expectations are already visible on the ground. A wave of job cuts has rolled through big employers, with major companies entering 2026 with mass layoffs already underway. Industries facing the sharpest cuts include manufacturing, where factories are adjusting to weaker orders and new automation, and white collar services, where client demands have shifted and firms are consolidating teams. When large household names cut thousands of roles at once, it sends a signal far beyond the people directly affected, encouraging smaller employers to follow suit. Those headlines sit on top of a broader trend. Through October, nearly 1.1 million Americans have been laid off in 2025, a jump of 65% from the same period a year earlier, with cost cutting and restructuring cited as primary motives. That surge in layoffs, documented in one analysis of job losses, helped explain why a top economist recently described the current pattern as a jobless expansion in which output and profits hold up but hiring stalls. And that's why our brother did a lesson. He was like, hey, brothers got to hold on to their jobs. Now, that's not by means of going against the Lord, obviously. But brothers is like, hey, just go find another job. It's just not so. There's no open market for jobs, man. Whether you have experience in the in the field or not, it's just not openings. All right. Now we're not gonna be over righteous. If your job is interfering with the work of the Lord and you pray to the Lord, He'll deliver something to you. All right. But for the most part, all right, hey brothers, let's be mindful. We still got time here. Let's make sure we making the best decisions possible, man, for us and our family. Until obviously the Lord will intervene, because He's been our bread and water. All right, since we've been basically living, not basically, but He's who we've been trusting in, man. All right, He's been giving us the spirit and will to feed our families and have these devils have mercy on us to do so, man. All right, it says in that assessment, the latest jobs data show an economy that can't create jobs, a gut punch for the middle class that is used to send employment rise whenever growth does, and a warning that the 60% layoff plans are part of a deeper break with past cycles. And these ads are weird, man. All right? It is just sending and shit, man. Goddamn. It says AI reorganization and a new layoff logic. Yeah, AI, all right, which is artificial intelligence, is taking over a lot of these job opportunities. All right, where people once was, they're using computerized systems and data designs to basically replace humans, man. It says behind the numbers, the logic of layoffs is changing. In earlier downturns, companies tended to cut staff when revenue fell or credit dried up. Now, executives are also using a period of economic uncertainty as cover to accelerate automation and redesign how work is done. One detailed report on workforce plans in 2026 found that artificial intelligence and company reorganization will be driving layoffs, with leaders explicitly linking redundancy to digital transformation, new software, and process redesigns. And I'll say, I forgot this devil name, but he fired 91% of his company. I think he's over a mass company or whatever, a major company. 91% of their company because they wasn't catching on to AI fast enough. He let go 91% of his company, man, because they wasn't like keeping up with the algorithm of AI, which that's what now most companies is transitioning to. All right, so it says in that analysis, artificial tools are not a side note. They are central to how managers justify shrinking teams while promising shareholders higher productivity. So they want to cut people, manual label down, but also assure clients that they're gonna be able to still fulfill their obligation and servicing them as being employers, as being able to provide the services they've been providing at a higher rate, which makes no sense. All right, but consumers, they don't make sense, right? They just in the barter system as well. It says another slice of the same research published in January quoted one expert saying that companies are laying off in order to fund transformation and efficiency. How something can get efficient? How do you subtract to gain? Right? It's asinine in a way, right? But they're selling you the fact of, this new way, AI, automation, all right? And people gonna buy it, okay? But it's all like an algorithm. It's like an algorithm imprisonment that they're forcing on the people to you have to join the new way of working. All right, there's a new world ensuing, a new way of doing things ensuing, man. And it's all gonna be based on efficiency, AI data, all right, 15-minute cities, everything linked in to technocracy, man. It says that framing matters because it means some of the jobs being cut will not come back, even if growth reaccelerates. See, once these jobs go, they gone. Once the prices spike up, they're not going down. So if you can understand the way, all right, the economy work, then you'll understand what we're heading into, man. And we there. All right, it just have to be a couple of false flags, all right, set in place to where they totally overthrow this current system with the new digital system, man. It says that framing matters because it means some of the jobs being cut will not come back, even if growth reaccelerates. When a back office function is automated or merged into a shared service hub, the older roles disappear permanently. See? And the next hiring wave will focus on different skills entirely. All right? And through those different skills, you're going to have something called a MOT to the B. All right? You're going to have a CHIP to be able to perform these job duties. Okay? Because that's how you're going to get paid. That's how you're going to log in, clock in, amongst other things. It says, I see that as the quiet revolution inside the 60% statistic. A shift from cyclical layoffs to strategic workforce redesign. So lock it for that. All right. Layoffs rising even as hiring stays strong. What? The paradox of this moment is that employees are talking about both cuts and growth at the same time. One global survey of staffing plans reported in January concluded that hiring plans still strong for most employers line, even as they prepare redundancies. That's redundant. And that work by Dexter Tilo, executive, described a two-track strategy, trimming roles made redundant by artificial intelligence while still adding headcount in areas like data science, cybersecurity, and green technology. The result is a labor market that feels brutal if you are in a shrinking function, but surprisingly open if your skills line up with the new priorities. All right? No. Yada, yada. All right. I ain't got to read more of that. You can read it. Your real workers is in the crosshair. All right. These major companies are laying off, which is a tall tale sign, all right, of a shift in the economy. All right. That it's never going back to the old normal. All right. This is the new normal. Okay. Plan on, if you're not going to accept the MOT to the B or the CHIP, you're not going to be able to work. If you don't be able to work, you won't be able to feed your family and, so forth and so on. But these companies are laying off because they're merging into the major corporations, all right, that they can control the people. You see? So I don't want to watch this out of was edifying, man. Next time I say shalom.